Dennis, I want to continue our conversation based on your story in your book, Ironing Money, about what it is to be a recovering alcoholic. And now let's turn to getting treatment. I believe if I got this right, you went to rehab 3 times and detox twice. And I remember reading about your journey and you pointing out something that goes, gee, it's very common to fail and have to go back repeatedly, right? And so I'm curious, tell us about that story and what it means for us, watching a veteran battle buddy go through this. I guess sort of the question is, how much patience should we expect to have while they sort of go in and go out of these facilities?
Sure. Well, I mentioned it in a previous segment we had. Alcoholism and addiction is a disease that will tell you you don't have it. And that's something important to keep in mind for people who aren't struggling, because we will justify all kinds of things in order to keep ourselves using and drinking. And I was no different. I was what they call a repeat offender. I did go to rehab multiple times. And me, like a lot of the veterans who've been out there multiple times in treatment, find themselves when they get there comparing their stories and their experiences to others in a way that will make others seem worse. And when we do that, we can sit back and go, I'm not as bad as that guy, or I'm not as bad as that gal. And when we start getting into that game in our mind, we allow it to go into that place where we're not, well, maybe we really don't have a problem. I don't belong here because I didn't do X, Y, and Z. And that happens a lot. And it's probably more common than it's not. I think there are probably more repeat offenders than there are one-time rehab trips for individuals. That being said, and it's one of the reasons too, just as a side note, that we have been so successful with our veteran-only treatment programs, because if you can find some shared experience, even if it may not be related to using or drinking, if you can find some shared experience that allows the individual to look at another person and go, hey, I'm kind of like them in some way, that will open the door, even if it just cracks it open, to start digging down further and really starting to address some of the concerns. So it's tough for loved ones and it's tough for friends, because you will see somebody who may go into treatment 2, 3, 4 times. What you don't want to do is make them feel ashamed for having to go back. That's critical. There's nothing shameful about trying again. It is a far better alternative, just to be blunt about it, than staying in the alcoholism or the addiction. And so when a loved one or a family member finds themselves getting frustrated that a person may need to go back to treatment of some sort, ask yourself whether or not you want them to eventually find recovery, or whether you'd rather them stay in their addiction. And I think, we would all find that we can be a little more forgiving in that respect. So, everyone's decline because it's alcoholism and addiction is a chronic progressive disease. It's not going to go away, and it's going to get worse. Those two things are certain. And so everyone has various points at which they will finally be able to start dropping the denial and accept that they've lowered their standards to a point that it's no longer acceptable to them. That's different between every person. It's as varied as you can possibly imagine with the reasons people make those decisions. Either way, sometimes that won't happen until their third trip to a treatment center. So be supportive about it. Look, enabling is a problem, and I know that's where people get concerned. They think that if they're acting too supportive with somebody who's a repeat offender, that they're enabling them. And that's not really the case. Don't give somebody money that's an addict, right? That's common sense stuff. But be supportive of them if they go into treatment for the third time. Send them a care package, do some things that show that you're supporting them that don't necessarily involve enabling an addiction or an alcoholic.
Thank you, Dennis. Great advice. Thank you.